In this section of notes, we're going to look at significance tests again, but this time we're going to look at what kind of mistakes could we make. There's two main errors. So there's a type 1 and a type 2 error. And when we go to make our conclusion, where we either reject the null or fail to reject the null, we certainly hope that we're making the right conclusion, but sometimes we will be wrong. So there's two things that could happen. We could either reject the null hypothesis when the null hypothesis is in fact true. That's an example of a type 1 error. The other thing we could do is that we could fail to reject the null hypothesis when the alternative is true. That's a type 2 error. So this is just the exact same information kind of given to you as a diagram. So if the null is true and we fail to reject it, then we made the right decision. That's good. If the alternative is true and we reject the null, then that's good. We made the correct decision. But we also have these type 1 and type 2 errors. Now, a type 1 error happens about alpha percent of the time. So if your alpha level is 5%, then 5% of the time you're going to make a type 1 error, where you are going to reject the null when the null was actually true. There is also a formula for type 2 error and what percent of the time that happens. That's going to come up later in a section of notes in the future, but for now this is what you need to know. So when you change your significance level, you can maybe increase or decrease the probability of making a type 1 error. So if you change your alpha level from 5% to 1%, then you lower the chances of making a type 1 error. But if you change your alpha level from 5% to 10%, then you increase that. So sometimes you have to weigh your options, like which type of error would be worse and which one would be more acceptable to make that mistake, and then that might help you pick your alpha level. Now, as usual, don't forget to try the practice problems from this section before moving on.